No, I'm not driving a Lamborghini. I'm driving Japanese Mercedes.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to do another 5-minute recap. This race was a little bit longer than the last one, so it didn't actually end up being 5 minutes. The race was more than twice as long, so it only makes sense if the video is twice as long. Don't forget to hit that like button, and without any further ado, we're going to get right into it. Starting out with a bit of an introduction of the grid, we have Dominiak in the front in the red and white Porsche. Directly behind him is Valtonen in the spacey Lamborghini. Next to him is Jerry in the red NSX, and behind we have Hish and Banana in the blue McLaren and the purple and blue Porsche, respectively. Behind Hish in the blue McLaren, we have Mr. Brown in the purple Bentley, and directly behind him we have the orange and black BMW, which we saw in our last video, and that's Mattel. Next to him is me in the white Lexus. Behind me on the grid, we see Weingarten in his black and yellow Mercedes, and behind him is Bartocci in the red and white Lexus. Next to Weingarten, we have Krujan in the white Porsche, and then beside Bartocci, we have our newcomer, Daniel Pozzoli, in the Audi. Behind him, we have Rulli in the Mercedes, and Del Campo in the Porsche with the orange stripe. There's the green light, and away we go down the front straight into turn 1. We see Weingarten looking for the inside line. I'm going to slide over to the left behind Dave to try to get the inside line, do the undercut around turn 1. Everybody going into turn 1 now, everything looking neat and tidy, nobody screwing up on the first turn, which is what we want from Monza. We're trying to get the undercut on Weingarten here, and we'll see as we come out that we do manage to push him out of the way, and we take first place for the amateur class going into the back straight. Fast forwarding a little bit down to turn 2, everybody looking nice and tidy through turn 2, and all of the positions seem to stay the same. Skipping the next couple of corners, we go to the straight into Ascari, where we see Dave thinking the grass is a little bit long and takes his car off the track to give it a bit of a trim. We're not sure if we got an off-track penalty for that, but we do know that he didn't lose or gain any positions. Let's go to the onboard to try to see what happened. If you look closely, it almost looks like the car got out from under him. He tried to correct it, and he ended up going straight off the track and over the grass. Going into Parabolica now, we see Dave and Mattel side by side, just barely not touching. Mattel goes a little bit wide as we come down the back straight. Here we see myself in the Lexus next to Krujan in his Porsche, chasing down Weingarten, who got ahead of us in the last corner. As we go into turn 1 again, we see that Mattel actually missed his braking point and is using the escape route. Again, we're not sure if he got an off-track penalty for that, but he did lose 2 positions. We try to chase him down the straight, but that BMW's straight line speed is too much for our little Lexus, and we don't manage to pass him. Skipping the next couple of corners again, we're going into Ascari, and we see that Mattel and Weingarten are right next to each other. Weingarten goes a little bit wide on the entry and goes right up on the curb. We try to take the overtake. Weingarten comes back and just barely touches the Lexus. Nobody got hurt, but it was a close call. Let's take a closer look. We can see we go through the entry. Weingarten goes up onto the curb. We try to go to the overtake. Weingarten comes back, and we just barely touch tires. Lucky for us, we did manage to get out of that unscathed, and we took the position from Weingarten. After a couple of laps, we do manage to catch up to this train of Valtonen, Lipponen, Mr. Brown, and Mattel in his BMW. We're going to see the Lamborghini, Valtonen's Lamborghini, come in, doesn't quite see Dave, and actually hits him on the entry to Parabolica. Going wide, Dave's got a little bit of oversteer there. We're going to see Valtonen very fast in a straight line in that Lamborghini, try to go for the overtake on the right side. Realizing he might get an off-track overtake penalty in the pit lane, swipes around to the left side, just barely touching David Brown's rear bumper and sending him into a spin. We take a closer look at that from behind. We see Valtonen's Lamborghini deciding to change lines, just barely brushing the rear end of the Bentley, and there it goes into the wall. After a couple of laps of nothing, we find ourselves trying to chase down Mattel's BMW into Ascari. We carry a little bit too much speed into the first corner, yeeting the car over the first curb, and taking a little bit too much of the curb on the exit. This pops the car up into the air and causes me to spin out, wrecking the rear spoiler as I crash into the wall. Taking a look at the crash from above, we can see the car entering Ascari here, going over the curb as we should, going around the second curb, and then taking too much of the curb here, throwing the rear end of the car up into the air, and as we land, the rear end wants to overtake the front, throwing us into a spin and then into the wall because I probably could have hit the brakes, but I didn't. After waiting for the traffic to pass, we rejoin the race up into Parabolica, giving up a couple of positions. We realize while we're in Parabolica that the rear aero is shot. You'll see the car struggle to go around this corner and maintain grip. So we limp into the pit lane for our first pit stop of the race. After our first early pit stop, we had to go on to a tire-saving strategy, which makes for a very boring race. About an hour and a half went by on the same set of tires, and it resulted in a lot of this.
Oh my god, I almost died again.
After about an hour and a half of that, we go in for our second pit stop of the race, hoping that it was going to be our last. Little did I know, it wasn't. As we come out of the pits for the second time, we come out just in front of Mr. Brown in his purple Bentley. You could have heard him cursing my name in radio, but the radio was almost completely inaudible over the sound of the engine, so I didn't include it in the clip. We go into turn 1 with Brown just behind us, and he's going to tail us for the next couple of laps. Going into turn 2, we buckle under the pressure of Brown's chase. We brake for the corner, and as we turn in, we hit the curb on the inside, sending us wide and hitting the curb again on the exit of the corner. Brown gets right next to us, going down into the next corner, and he's going to try to take the inside line. We get ahead of him, but we don't quite take the inside line, meaning we go wide on the exit of that corner, giving Brown an opportunity for an overtake. Still following us closely, with Valtonen behind us now, we know how this ends based on what happened in the last race.
Oh no, it's you two again. I remember how this ends from Mazzano.
Going down into Scari now in our 1-2-3 train, we actually managed to pull away from the train a little bit. Brown and Valtonen started fighting each other through the corners, which actually gave me room to break away. A couple of laps later, we find ourselves behind Heish's McLaren going into Ascari. The draft down that straight was a little bit too much for me as I go wide into the corner and end up spinning my car into the wall again. From above, you can see there's just a little bit too much gas going in, a little bit of oversteer, and then directly into the barrier on the left, which caused me to make a noise similar to this one. We met a similar fate a couple laps later when this happened. It looks like we caught some grass on the exit of that corner, and the traction control didn't save us this time. You can see the car just getting a little bit out of shape and then going completely around and hitting the wall. This did some severe damage to our front aero, making the car undrivable. Again. So we went into the pits after this for our third time.
Oh no!
Got some light damage on the front of the car.
I want to take this pit stop opportunity to remind you guys that if you're enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. The last 40 minutes of the race just added insult to injury as we realized we forgot to get enough fuel into the tank. We had to go on pace lap map for 3, maybe 4 laps in order to finish the race with enough fuel. During this time, I'm pretty sure we were overtaken by every single car on the track. At the end of the race, we managed to pull 13th place after we were passed by Del Campo on the last lap. Now this doesn't include DNFs and no-shows, so we still pulled some points on the grid, but it's not the result that we wanted. And the race is going to end right about here, where the replay stops completely. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. If you didn't like it, go ahead and leave a dislike, and let me know why in the comments. I'm always looking for feedback on how to make my videos better. Don't forget to check out the links down below. You're going to find a link to the full race down there, parts 1 and 2. It's like a 3-hour video in one part. You're also going to find a link to the Patreon page that I've created, so you can just check that out down below for a little bit more information on that. I want to end this video with a shout out to our newest racer, Daniel Pizzoli, and his supersonic Audi drift machine, so check this out. That's all for me today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week with the next recap video.